Okay, I do have 7 o'clock. We are waiting for one more member. We'll give her a few there she is. All right, so being 7 o'clock, I'd like to open the June 10th meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission. And bear with me for a moment. Okay, roll call. Frank.
Here.
Ken.
Here.
Teresa.
Here.
Jimmy.
Here.
Silvana.
Here.
Peter.
Here.
Okay, all members are present. First item is the approval of the minutes from May 27th. Has everybody had a chance to review those that were present at the last meeting? And if so, are there any comments, questions, or corrections? And if not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from May 27th?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second. Sorry.
Peter,
Yes.
Silvana,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Frank, you weren't here for the 27th, right?
Yeah, I'll abstain.
Okay. And I will also approve those minutes. All right, next up is 7 o'clock, file DEP 313604. That's 28 Bellevue Ave. It's a continued public hearing for a notice of intent. And John is with us for 28 Bellevue, I believe.
Yep, good evening, John Ogren, Hayes Engineering. Just kind of go through what's transpired. We a site walk on last Saturday. There's a couple of things that came out of that we addressed. I submitted a revised plan. If you want, I can go over that. And most of the changes are fairly minor.
Yeah, please bring that up on the screen.
I can't see it.
Did that come up?
Yes.
Okay, so I think I'll go first off. We talked about at the last hearing about looking at what kind of storm the footprint of the house, if we tied all the roof leaders to the from the house to the infiltration system, what inch rainfall event would that be? And I've added those calculations down here. So it's 1,550 square feet is the footprint of the house. And if you back figure that out, with having 168 cubic feet of storage in the the storm text and stone, you come out with a 1.3 inch rainfall. So anything basically just over an inch would be stored and eventually infiltrate into the ground. So I've also changed there's a note and it says that all roof downspouts to be connected to the storm text. One of the things that came out of the site walk was kind of in this area in here, just between the lawn and the BVW, there was it was a little devoid of canopy. So we talked about adding some trees in there. I talked with Elizabeth at our office and came up with some flowering crabapple trees. These trees grow anywhere from 12 to 18 feet, which is kind of what we were talking about. Nothing that's going to get too tall, and we specified a size of 4 to 5 feet tall, which I took a look and looked like those are available. There was some discussion about the the maple tree that's out towards the front of the lot. I don't know if we ever came to any kind of consensus on that. So that's essentially all the changes to the plan at this stage.
I think regarding the maple, we obviously would like to save it if possible. It would probably require some pruning for sure, with the current location of the house. And we don't know what the extent of the root system is. But it could certainly be hit during excavation. But anything we can do to save that would be the ideal scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the owner and he's, he definitely would like to save it also. Obviously we can't, like you said, until we get into actual construction, it may just not be feasible. So
Right.
we don't want to commit to that. But I think he would be willing to commit if it did end up having to remove that maple tree, that, we would put in a tree in its place, basically.
Yeah, it's not providing canopy to the wetland at this point, and it won't, but it is providing, water uptake and cooling effect and, every other benefit you get, obviously. Are any other questions or concerns?
I'm trying to find some stuff right now. Just hang on for a second. John, what were the resources that we're talking about? BVW? Is there bank?
Is there what?
Is there a bank?
No, no bank.
No bank.
If there is a bank, it's it's inside the wetlands line. I mean, I know you guys were down walking around with this. There's that 12-inch drain pipe discharges from
Yeah.
the street, and there's not even really a discernible channel through the.
So the only resource that you see out there is BVW. You don't see bank as a resource.
No, just BVW.
Okay.
And there's no flood. It's not in a flood zone or anything like that either. So there's no BLSF.
Yeah. Oh, shit. No, definition. I don't know, does anyone else have anything to say right now? I'm still looking.
No, not me.
No, not me either.
Okay. I want to know why there's a bank, I guess. Even though it's not, if there is bank, it should be on the plan. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I stand with that. I'm trying to find the definition of bank. Can you help me with that, John?
Well, the bank would be associated with a stream or a hydraulic connection.
But there's a bank associated with the wetland, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just a slow, it just slopes down to the wetlands, but that wouldn't be considered bank.
Technically, it should be shown on the plan as a bank.
As a what?
If there's a bank there, it should be shown on the plans. I guess I'm not too worried about it. It's not.
Well, there wouldn't be any bank associated with the wetlands. I mean, you could have wetlands that slopes right down, have a steep slope right to the edge of the wetlands, and that slope is not considered bank.
All right, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. No one else has got anything yet.
No,
Okay, so maybe we could just go through how you're protecting the BBW. Just as a matter of course, just so that we have an understanding of what you were thinking. As far as the performance standards go.
Well, the performance standards are, we're not disturbing any more of the buffer zone than's previously disturbed. We're basically maintaining the existing edge of lawn.
Yeah,
So based on that, our impacts to the wetlands should be minimal. We're maintaining what's there for vegetation between the lawn and the BVW.
okay,
The house, the deck is, about 23 feet from the edge of the wetlands. And we're obviously improving it in terms of, from a stormwater standpoint by infiltrating the excess rainfall into the ground.
okay,
We are converting some of the paved areas to, roof areas, which is considered clean.
okay. So as far as the plant, what are you doing to enhance the vegetation in that area? Along the BBW line, are you doing anything? Not the BBW, the 20-foot, no disturb.
We're not proposing anything other than the 2 trees.
2 trees is right where that dead tree was, right? You're gonna put 2 new trees right where that dead tree
Yeah,
was?
yeah, the dead tree was kind of lying down kind of in this area.
Right,
And I think when we were out there, if you kind of looked up at the canopy, it was kind of this area in here that it looked like, there was kind of like a void
Mhm.
canopy wise.
Okay. Is there any way that we should delineate that BBW line so that there's no misunderstanding as to how far people should be going with their activities?
right now it's in back of the lawn area. You'd have to go through the brush to actually get to it.
I mean,
Um,
that live there, that would be living there. I'm just throwing out ideas.
yeah,
All right, if you don't see an issue, then
as far as a barrier of some type or a marker.
well, is there, should you be doing anything to enhance wildlife habitat there? Should you be, putting plants in there that are beneficial to the wildlife?
So the current edge of lawn is the limit of work line, correct?
Yes,
John?
yeah.
Okay.
So the
But-
grass goes right up to the BBW, didn't it? Almost?
No, it's set back. There's vegetation between the edge of lawn and the BBW.
Yeah, and I think the trees that we propose, the crab apples, I mean, they flower,
Yeah,
and then they obviously have fruit too, so.
so they provide canopy and they also provide water uptake, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and wildlife food source.
And yeah, so there's 3 things there. These are things that I'd like to get written down and, it's an explanation for why we're doing what we're doing. I think it helps define how we chose whatever decision we come to.
I mean, you could also potentially add some high bush blueberries across that edge of lawn area, or just in back of the edge of lawn or something like that, just to kind of create some more of a barrier and additional food source.
Especially near that one point that's so close to the right of the second tree, it's so close to the BBW.
Wetland flag 15, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, flag 15, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot of vegetation right after the edge of lawn already.
I gotta turn this.
But would it
Well, a
make
lot of the
sense?
shade taken away because of all the trees that are going to be cut down are taking a lot of the canopy from the edge of the wetland. So because the question is, I guess my question is whether 2 trees is sufficient to restore, the 2 trees that are going to be just in the wetland, whether they're sufficient, whether they're going to be sufficient, or whether there should be more to the left on the map.
Well, there's no trees proposed to come down in the back, correct? That would
There's
impact canopy.
No, but along the, if you look along the 25-foot buffer, I think that there is a significant number of trees. Every tree in the backyard is coming down.
Right, but
Between the house and the, every tree between the house and the wetland in the buffer zone that is providing some shade to the wetland is coming down. And so I guess the question I'm raising is whether just those 2 trees, whether we're satisfied that is sufficient. I'm looking to the left of I'm specifically wondering to the left of, more, an additional tree to the left and perhaps an additional tree to the right. Just want to get people's take on it.
Well, I think there
Every
was,
tree on the edge of the deck, every tree is coming down. There's a lot of canopies coming down.
all right, I don't remember that at all. actually.
Every tree in the backyard is coming down.
Right, but I don't remember any of them actually providing shade. That was casting shade to the wetland.
I think they were.
Anybody else remember, have a better memory?
Yeah,
than me?
I don't think they did provide shade to the wetland. They were, yeah, I don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't recall that either. Jimmy, you remember anything providing canopy that,
Well, I can tell you they had leaves. I mean.
right, but they weren't very
They were
tall. They were
not
probably-
huge. They were
Yeah,
not-
they weren't not tall. I mean, they were not, you're right. They weren't like the tree in the front yard,
No,
but they were not insignificant trees.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I remember we purposely said there was nothing providing canopy. I thought we had determined that out there. That was coming down.
Well, and I'm also saying, or I'll put it this way, that it would be helpful if you look at the BBW, the sun is shining, right on the, it would be helpful for the wetland if there were a canopy that started at the wetland line. And I know that there are trees being cut down in the buffer zone, and certainly, a portion of the structure is within the 25 feet. So I think it would be appropriate for us to think of what would be the best to, what is the best way to, because right now you're saying that the buffer zone is is not providing any benefit to the wetland, and perhaps that's something we should consider.
and that would be an enhancement, obviously, right?
Well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you would certainly gain water uptake to offset potentially anything that's coming down.
Mhm.
And you would gain additional canopy that you don't have now. I mean, it would create more of a physical barrier between
I have no
the
issue
work
with this
line.
being right at the edge of the wetland, on the wetland side. That doesn't bother me. If it-
Well,
because
we could ask for 2 more of the same trees to the right
or
of those 2.
over in this area in here.
Yeah, equally spaced.
Yep.
And that would, Peter, would that satisfy your concerns?
yes,
Again, we gain more water uptake. We do gain some canopy, more wildlife food source. And does create more of that physical barrier that says, hey, there's a reason these trees are in a row here, in the back of the yard. And they shouldn't get too big where there would be an issue from a root system or a, branch canopy issue either. Any other questions or comments?
John, what's the blue line with the dot, the dot on it? What's that signify?
That's the erosion control line.
And then the green with the 2 dashes, what's that line?
The green with the 2 this one, that's the 25 foot. It's labeled the 25 feet from the wetlands.
Okay. So really. Okay, and the edge of lawn is pretty consistent right across the whole length of the property? That you have edge of lawn marked there? Oh, is it, yeah. edge
That's
of-
the blue line,
No, that's not the
right?
blue.
Yeah, the edge of lawn is this line. It pretty much follows the erosion control along this portion here. And then it veers off. But all through here, basically, where we're the closest, it's just designed, it was designed to just be installed right behind the edge of the grass.
John, it says stone retaining wall. Near the back steps of the deck.
Yeah, this wall here,
Yeah,
yeah, that's gonna be removed.
okay, that's it, right, but we saw that wall there, okay, okay, I just want. Thank you.
Hey, Frank, you can't pull up a picture of this, can you?
Yeah. He can, I can.
Someone can?
Yeah, I actually,
An
I
area,
have it already up. I was just looking at it. Let's see. You guys see this okay?
Got it.
So, let's see. Swing around.
so I think Peter was right, it's supplying some canopy.
So you're
Pardon me?
probably talking about this group of trees here that's coming down, right, Peter?
Yeah.
Every one of them, every
Yeah,
single
the
one.
other side too, on the left of the house too.
Over
Yes, those two.
That's
Yep.
coming down too, yeah.
Every single tree. There's not one being saved.
Look, that's not a good view. All right, that's probably the best view.
Yeah, swing back to the front view of the street, Frank, 90 degrees.
Oh,
There we go. So that's I think a better representation, and to get more of the overhead also. Yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, and from this, you can see kind of that void that I was talking about, that we were talking about filling in.
right. You can see the light green to the darker green. That's that void. You can actually see the edge of lawn line going straight across the back. Yep. If you move laterally to your left, right along that line, that is the edge of lawn.
Mhm.
And that void kind of, I don't know, triangular shape, and back of that to the left is the open area that we're talking about putting 2 trees. Yeah, so your BBW is in back of the larger trees in the back of the property.
It's not that far back though, I don't believe. It's right where the it starts to look like a canopy. It goes from the lawn into a canopy, right?
Well, if you look at the fence in a neighboring property,
Yeah,
They'll kind of give you a better feel, you know, running that straight across. And it's in back of that.
Yeah, but it's not that far in back of that.
No,
It's like, maybe 4 or 5 feet.
yeah, yep.
No, I'm just, I think you have to find some way to establish that lawn's not gonna, it should be like a boundary because the wetland line is so close that I could easily see people creeping into the wetland.
So with the 4 trees, would you want to see some additional plantings between them?
No, I'm just making a statement. I just think, I don't know what to think. I don't know what the solution is.
And we could put a marker, a sign or a marker like we did up in Lotus and Lovis,
Mm,
you know, stone bound marker
yeah, I
on
mean,
either side.
that clear area, John, how wide is that cleared area? I mean, that's gonna be their yard, wherever that light green is, that's gonna be the yard. I'm not sure how wide it is or anything, but.
And the dead tree was kind of in that open area.
Mm,
Yeah, so across that, it's about 70, 75 feet or so.
Lengthwise, how about depth wise?
What do you mean depth from,
Well, I mean, it's got a length and a width, to get the area, it's gotta have 2 dimensions. I mean, the distance from the back of the house to the edge of the tree line, what would that be?
So the edge of house to edge of lawn,
No,
length by width.
the edge of the tree line towards the BBW. Where that clear area, where the light green is, I'm assuming that's grassed area.
No, well, the light green to the left, yes. The green is slightly darker to the right. That's where the broken dead tree was.
Right, so
That's past the that's on the other side of the 20 foot.
okay,
And that's where the 2 trees are being proposed. 2 of the 4.
okay. It might turn out that you can't plant that many trees because they won't.
Right, yeah, to the lower section, you've got that large tree there. Not sure what'll happen if you start digging and trying to put 2 more trees in there, but
I
it's
would suggest-
possible.
I would suggest that John come up with something to tell us what he thinks would work there. I mean, there's no sense in having the guy plant trees if they're not gonna grow there.
Quick question, Bob. This is entirely in the buffer zone, correct?
Yeah,
Was there a calculation done on the linear footage of trees taken down? And are the trees being replaced gonna offset that 1-to-1? Do we know?
no, we didn't even think about that, Frank.
no, there's no calculation. I mean, the trees that we're talking about, for the most part, they basically grew out of the retaining wall and they grew out of, there's another wall on kind of the right side of the house. So that they're kind of scrubby and they're not gonna really last anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah, the large maple to the front of the property was the one that's the most significant for sure. So what's the consensus? Do we want to add 2 more trees to the right or some additional other types of plantings? Put stone bounds on each corner? What do people want to do or see?
I think at least the 2 additional trees, if John talks to Libby and Libby thinks they can live. And a boundary to show not to go in that, I guess, not to go in that scrubby area. Or Jimmy, are you talking about even more than the scrubby area in terms of, because isn't where the edge of the lawn is, isn't that the beginning of the scrubby area?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
So why would you want to go in there to begin with, unless you,
not go in there. No, that's right. Why would you want to go in there? But those are like sumacs and people cut those things down. They're like a junk tree.
I gotcha. So right now, it's not enticing to go into, but if you cut it down, it would be.
It could be. And I think it's a very marginal thing to fit this house in here and give us appropriate clearances. So I'd be all for whatever would, delineate what the space is that people have to use as the lawn and area for activities. That's just my concept.
Are you thinking even about a low fence, something like that?
Well, you don't want to block wildlife, so you don't want, because I'm sure there's wildlife out there, so you can't really put a solid fence. You'd have to put like a rail fence or something like that.
What if you did something like a split rail fence?
Yeah, something like that would be a good marker. Of course, they don't last that long, but
Well, you could put a series of stone bounds in, 4 of them or whatever, just so you see a straight line.
I mean, does anyone see this as a concern, or is it just me? Because I don't want to hold people up.
Well, people are going to tend to want to dump their clippings and leaves back there and clear and go further and further back. We
Well,
know.
the neighbor did stop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we know
and
that
I was,
happens.
I would also say that looking at some of the other houses on the street, you can see the incentive to try to encroach. And I think we should do something, to have something to make it, to discourage that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, you get 2 pools that are pushing right up against the.
Well, that's
limit.
exactly right. That's perfectly right.
Bob had a good suggestion earlier for some, would you say high bush
High bush
blueberries?
blueberry,
Yeah, provide some, some food.
4 trees and a row of high bush to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think it has to be too complicated.
Is Elaine here? Is Elaine with us?
Yes, I am.
Elaine, do you have any comments?
Well, I think a combination of a split rail fence, which is a visual barrier but keeps it open for wildlife, a nice line of plantings for wildlife. The high bush blueberry looked good, depending on what the soil will absorb. But if it's wet back there, high bush blueberry like a wettish soil. And it wouldn't hurt. We have these little metal markers that say no activity beyond this point.
Mhm.
You've got all 3. And then you've got the trees, which will provide some shade. And you've got a very nice backyard, and you protect the BVW at the same time.
Well, that sounds like a good plan. How does that sound, everyone?
So we're saying add 2 additional trees, like we talked about, split rail fence, and some high bush blueberry plantings to fill in the gaps, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And then the markers.
In the markers, yeah, in the markers. I think it sounds like a good plan to me.
I concur.
Okay. All right, so there we are. Is there any other questions?
No?
Oh,
How about John?
Johnny. Anything you want to say, John? You're all set.
No, I'm gonna hold my tongue.
Okay.
I would ask though, do you think it's possible to close the hearing and we can provide a revised plan.
Yeah, you're gonna give us a planting plan, basically?
Yeah, we're gonna add the 2 trees, the split rail fence, some high bush blueberries in there and
Yeah.
delineate where the markers are.
Okay, and then you'll do that with her, with Elaine's input, and I'd be fine with it.
Yes,
Is there anyone else okay with that?
Yes.
Good with that?
Yes,
I agree.
yes.
All right, could I just add something here?
Yes,
For the revised plan, John, could I get, in addition to the electronic 8.5 by 11, could you also send a larger plan through the regular mail? Just a regular paper plan, because it's a little bigger and easier to read.
yep, absolutely.
Okay, and then could you give me the green cards? Could you send the green card?
I scanned them and sent them along. I might have sent them to Rebecca.
Okay,
If you need the physical green cards, I can give them to you, but I scanned them all and emailed them
and when did you do that?
before the first hearing, two
Okay,
weeks
I'll look,
ago.
okay, I'll look through her email. I've got it noted. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, with that being said, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
okay, Ken,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Jimmy,
yeah,
Teresa.
Yes.
Silvana,
Yes,
Peter,
yes.
and I also vote to close the public hearing. All right, let's see, we got 7:37, so we're actually a little behind schedule. So we won't be talking about order of conditions at this point in time, so we can move on.
Hey, Bob, while
yeah.
it's still fresh in our heads, do we have any special conditions? I can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, I can't think of any either. Anybody have any questions or conditions they'd like to add?
we close the hearing.
Yeah. All right, so then we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. And that is DEP 313605. That's 26 Millbrook Lane. It's a continued public hearing for a notice of intent for the construction of a swimming pool and patio within the riverfront to the Mill River and within buffer to the BVW.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thorson Akerley, for wetland scientist and registered sanitarian from Williams and Sparages, representing the homeowners of 26 Millbrook Lane, Susan and Ryan Burns. This is, of course, a continued public hearing of the proposed pool and patio area within the buffer zone to BVW and within the 200-foot riverfront area associated with Mill River. So I apologize, there was perhaps some confusion at the end of last week or the week before the commission did their site visit. We had submitted a revised plan on the Friday before the visit. It had the changes incorporated, and I'll share my screen with what we currently have. But just to explain, that's the old one. So we had incorporated the changes that the commission had requested at the first hearing, which was moving the pool outside of the 50-foot buffer to, or not 50-foot buffer, but 50 feet from the edge of the river. Showing some flow arrows over the patio to show the direction of flow towards the infiltration trench along the patio. And I believe those were the two primary concerns. I know there was also mention of dewatering. That is a possibility, given the elevation of mean annual high water with the river. It's possible towards the bottom of the excavation of the pool could result in the need to dewater some water here. So this, again, we came up with a plan initially that kept the patio out to here, which is what we had originally designed. At the site visit, it was, I guess, informally discussed with the homeowner and the commission members that they wanted to see the patio reduced a little bit. I know we had some back and forth at the last meeting about the trench, of where it would be useful, where it would see the most benefit. And I think it sounded like the commission members had decided that it would make the most sense to keep it along here, which does make sense. We had it shown originally along this edge, but with just a couple feet of, or 3 feet of patio on this side, it really doesn't provide much benefit at all. Should also note, we did receive a DEP file number. We did also get a few DEP comments. It seems like they're commenting on everything these days, which is good. And they specifically wanted a discussion of the performance standards for work in the riverfront area. So in that first set of revisions provided last week, I had revised the narrative just to go over those sections. And specifically, you know, I felt like they were discussed already in the narrative, but just for the commission's benefit, we can go through them quickly. So the sections were 1058 for A through D. And A is, of course, is the protection of other resource areas. The work shall meet the performance standards for all other resource areas within the riverfront area, which specifically calls out EVW, bank, BLSF, and yeah. So of course, you know, being that most of the activity is greater than 50 feet and all proposed all within lawn, I think we can confidently say that the work protects the interests of the act, and is mostly exempt actually from jurisdiction of the act. But we do have a small section of patio and pool within the 50 feet of, I guess, bank here. Section B talks about the protection of rare species. This area is not mapped as rare species. It does not contain any rare species according to Mass GIS. Section C gets into the practicable and substantially equivalent economic alternatives. This really is more for larger projects in riverfront areas where commissions can request more information on alternatives that you know, make economic sacrifices or provide economic benefit to the applicants, and there are more trade-offs available to be made. In this case, it's a pool in the buffer zone. We have reduced the size of it by 5 feet long. I forgot to mention that. So it went from 40 feet long to 35. And you know, we feel that the patio is smaller now and meets the alternatives analysis section here. Further reducing it really doesn't give this family of 6 much space to operate. And then the section D talks about logistics. Logistics refers to the presence or absence of physical or legal constraints. Physical characteristics of the site may influence its development. Legal barriers include circumstances where a project cannot meet other applicable requirements to obtain the necessary permits at an alternative site. And you know, this, again, not super applicable to what we're doing here. You know, if you had an undeveloped site that was on a river and you had a lot of other areas in town that were able to be developed, you know, you could request an applicant look at alternative sites for development instead of one that has work proposed within the riverfront area. In this case, I think we've kind of gone over the logistical barriers, which include the sewer and drain easement right here, which the pool needs to be entirely outside of, the existing home, and a 15-foot side yard setback. An existing pretty significant row of arborvitaes here, as well as the existing patio and concrete block retaining wall here. So there's not really a lot of other options available to siting the pool elsewhere on the property. And then finally, the other section was that was actually in the original narrative. So then at a minimum, DEP says that they like to see a 100-foot wide area of undisturbed vegetation. Of course, when the property was developed back in the 60s before the Wetlands Protection Act, lawn was pretty much extended to the edge of the river. There has been a bit of a vegetative buffer that's grown up there over time, as I think the commission probably saw. But it's, sometimes the commission can request to extend that if it's practicable. In this case, there's already existing lawn there that was, again, previously developed before the Wetlands Protection Act. So not a lot of space to provide a super significant amount of, I guess, an undisturbed vegetative buffer. So those were the DEP comments. Again, I wanted to just quickly show the commission also the dewatering detail, which was provided last week before the site visit. This is a pretty general detail we use on larger projects where significant dewatering may be needed. But essentially, this is a crushed stone bed lined with hay bales around the outside, and then what's called a dirt bag, which the dirty water from the bottom of the excavation would be pumped directly into the dirt bag. That dirt bag would overlie the crushed stone, and I've seen them in action, and the dirt bags itself really do a good job of trapping all of the fine particles in the dirty water or sediment laden water, and then it filters through the stone further, and then would be out through the lawn and the hay bales. So really pretty minimal chance of any sediment ever getting towards the resource areas during construction. So with that, I think I've covered everything. Again, apologize for the confusion about resubmitting plans. But if the commission has any further questions, we'd be happy to answer.
So the one question, I think I know the answer anyways, but I'm going to ask you. Where you put the edge of mean annual high water mark, that's basically top of bank. No, it might not be top of bank though. It would, yeah, that would be top of bank, wouldn't it?
So yeah, so that's because of the history out here, and obviously they had done some. It's been historically manipulated with the location of the river and the easements.
Mhm.
This typically it would be the top of bank in almost every scenario. In this case, there's a bit of a more built up berm of, not a berm necessarily, but a elevated barrier. So that was another DEP comment. They wanted us to add the bank. And so that bank was pretty much coincident with the elevation 54 that is hard to see, but is this faint dashed line that cuts across here. So we offset that slightly, and that would be our top of bank. That's where it flattens out and starts to become lawn.
Okay, but your edge of BVW is then higher than the bank, right?
No, so
Mean high water mark.
So the edge of BV, the lowest point here is the edge of mean annual high water, and then slightly higher than that up the slope is the edge of BVW, and then at the top of the slope would be the top of the bank in this case.
So from what I'm seeing, it looks like there's about a foot difference in elevation between edge of mean annual high water mark and edge of BVW. That be all right?
Yeah, in some areas it's a little larger. In some areas it's almost exactly the same. There were portions of the bank that were steeper than others, where the edge of BVW lined up a lot closer to the edge of mean annual high water, and then there were portions of the bank here, the slope, that were a little bit flatter and not as steep, so it allowed BVW to creep up the slope a little bit.
So the only thing you didn't do is then, like, wouldn't there be two sides to the bank? So
Um,
the bank would have width?
Sure. Technically, I guess on this side there would be bank somewhere over here,
Mhm.
but we wouldn't typically delineate the other side of the bank because that buffer would be further away than this bank.
Yeah.
what did you say the elevation was for the top of bank?
Approximately elevation 54.
Okay,
So this line here, and we just, for a little factor of safety, we just offset it by about half a foot.
And the 100-year flood is 56.
Correct. And that cuts through portions of the existing lawn here. That's this darker line.
all right, so that's your BLSF line basically too.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
Yep, and we were a little close to the BLSF boundary over here with some of the patio. And so that's all been taken back, scaled back.
So the only thing I'm thinking is, so you would have bank on the other side, you also have land under water bodies. And you've got BBW there too, right? You got all those resources in there.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of them being shown on the plan, not that it makes any difference to what we've discussed of,
so we do have the edge of BBW here. Land underwater, I guess, that's, typically we wouldn't really show that unless we were doing any work in it, or any, the performance standards for that are really applicable to only when you're doing work within that specific resource area. But I hear what you're saying.
but I'm just thinking there'd be BBW on both sides of the stream.
So this goes way out. This goes hundreds of feet.
Well,
The
the stream doesn't go hundreds of feet though, but the
Right.
BBW would.
Right.
Okay. I don't have any more questions.
So it's labeled as Smith River. Is this just a small tributary to the Mill River?
So it's labeled as the Mill River on Mass GIS, but on the record plans for the property and this subdivision, for some reason it was labeled Smith River. But so technically we just kept that label, but believe now it's referred to as Mill River.
Right.
That came up during the site visit was that the owner puts clippings right down, all the way down to the bottom left-hand side of the, right behind the shed. So we just talked about that he shouldn't do that, and that he should remove what's there.
I think that's a reasonable condition.
Yeah, it's a large pile of brush and other vegetation,
Yeah.
right almost where the property lines all converge. Yeah, it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 property lines all converging behind the shed, almost where the concrete pipe is.
Yeah.
It was in that general area. Yeah.
Yep. Some stuff in the river, right? But there was a ladder, there was other stuff that we wanted him to take out, right? Does that ring a bell? Bob?
Sorry, my dog is barking. There's somebody at the door and I cannot hear what you're saying.
In addition, there was also a ladder in the river and some other garbage in the river.
Yeah, there was some other stuff, some sort of container and yeah, ladder. The owners have said they've been pulling stuff out that was there when they moved in, but we would like to see the other debris removed from the river.
it's an incredible site. It's beautiful. And just a point of clarification, again, the owner, as soon as we went out there, said that she didn't want that patio so big. So, and anyway, I just mentioned that. So,
Yeah, I think they got some costs for what it would take to install a patio like that. And there's also a logistical issue with DPW and engineering about putting a patio
over the easement.
within the easement. It likely will take some kind of recording against the property should the town ever need to work in it. Although it's pretty unlikely that they would need to work in this section, but if the pipe ever failed or they needed to replace it, the town didn't want to be or doesn't want to be liable for repairing this section of patio within the easement. So that the homeowners would just have to put some kind of recording to make the engineering department and DPW happy about covering themselves in that regard.
So I know that we talked about it's gonna be a cartridge type filter system for this pool, correct?
Correct.
And did we talk about whether they're gonna heat the pool or not?
We asked that question. You're gonna ask the homeowners about that?
Yes, I did, and sorry, I forgot to mention that it is going to be a heated pool, and the way that's done is through the pool equipment. Basically the water that cycles through the pool is heated through coils within the pool equipment, and is just filtered back into the pool via the normal circulation of the pool water.
How
So
do you
what is the source of the
heat?
heat?
So as I understand it, and I'm not an expert in this, but there's some type of heating element within the pool equipment that heats up the water
Is it
via.
electric or gas?
It would be electric.
Okay, well, that's what we're interested in. We just need to know that it's not oil or,
No. It's certainly not oil.
okay.
It's really just part of as I understand it, the normal pool equipment. So all electrical and all connected to the existing pumps and typical pool filter and equipment.
Yeah. Okay,
We should say that in the conditions that the heat source is electric, right? I mean, we should just make it clear.
or make it understood that it's not oil. Yeah, one of those two.
Have you ever seen an oil-fired heater for a pool? I don't think I've ever-
I have, actually,
Yeah, we did have one before us at one point.
yes.
Nothing ever shocks me anymore.
This is, I think, the first electric.
Yeah, generally they're gas.
Right.
Susan, I think Susan's on here too. Susan, you're not sure, as I understand it, it was electric, but you're not sure if it would be gas, would you?
It's electric as far as I know, but I haven't confirmed that yet with the pool company.
Yeah. Is there gas at the house?
Yes. It's gas heat.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't gas, but I don't know. It would be more efficient than electric, I would think.
Okay.
But either way, it doesn't really affect what we're looking at.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm good.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Right. And I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Ken,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes,
Silvana,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and I will also vote to close the public hearing. Okay. So we got 8 o'clock exactly. We do have an 8 o'clock hearing. Do we want to have any discussion right now about conditions or issue a standard order or wait till
Well,
later?
We already talked about some special conditions about cleaning up what's there, so.
Yeah. Yeah, cleaning up the debris in the stream, river, and the pile of debris in the corner.
I believe cartridge filter is already in our standard conditions, correct?
I think it is. I've got a copy of them. Elaine can probably answer that quicker than I can look it up.
Should be in there,
I'm 98% sure it's in there.
98% sure.
It's probably one of the last ones.
I don't
No.
see it.
I don't see it either.
No.
And I know we always talk about it. Well, we can add it.
All right, I'll make sure I'll add it in. And as a matter of fact, just so we don't have to add it in for special occasions, I'll make sure it goes into,
Sounds good.
I'll make sure.
All right, so we've got what, 3 conditions here? We've got to clean up the debris pile in that rear corner, remove any debris from the stream that they can get to, and cartridge type filter will be used. Does that sound correct or appropriate? Hey, Jimmy.
yeah, what?
So we said standard order of conditions plus condition that they clean up the debris pile in the corner,
Yeah,
remove anything from the river they can get to,
yeah,
and cartridge type filter will be used.
yeah. Okay,
Anything else?
sounds about right.
So we could vote on that right now and be done with that. If somebody would like to make that motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Ken,
Yes.
Frank?
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Yes,
Silvana,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Elaine, you got those 3 conditions? Elaine, you're on mute.
I feel,
I don't know how that happened. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what I must have touched. Oh, there was another one I wanted to know if you wanted to add about no storage of grass clippings or brush within 10 feet of the bank.
that, it says, that's in our standard order, number 58.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, I happen to have, again, Rebecca sent these to us for us to look at for ones that should survive indefinitely, so I have it right here.
Yeah, you know,
It's It's lucky number 58 is that one.
Yes, it is. It's in red too. All right, so then we're good then. Standard order with those three conditions.
I got it.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you all. It was nice working with you.
All right, thank you. All right. Only a couple of minutes behind schedule. Next up. Elena, you ready to move on before I?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, so next up, we have DEP 313601. This is 38 Rio Walton. And again, this is a continued public hearing for notice of intent for the demolition of an existing house and construction of a new house within buffer to BVW. There's also a stream. Not sure why it doesn't say that, but there is a stream. All right, John, I think you're back with us.
Yes, hi, good evening, John Ogren, Hayes Engineering. Also with me tonight is Bob Sullivan. He's the owner of the property. If you recall the last,
Good evening.
if you recall the last hearing, thought we had pretty much made some good progress and pretty much close to wrapping up. And then the comment was made in regards to the flipping of the house. We did look at that, see what it was going to do to the house, and from an architectural standpoint and usability standpoint, and really came to the conclusion that flipping the house did not work or achieve the goals of a couple that's going to move in here. So one was, like I said, from an aesthetic standpoint, coming up that roadway, you're staring at the garage if you flip it. The other is concern that you're coming up that there's only one way in, coming up Rear Walton, and that right away, the front door of the house is not visible. So from a security standpoint, it's not ideal. So in lieu of that, we took a look at just adding a gate to the driveway, because one of the concerns was snow plows coming down down Rear Walton and pushing the snow all the way out to the edge of the driveway, which would be right at the 25 feet to the BVW. So we submitted a plan for that. I'd just like to share that if I could. So I'm assuming everyone can see that. So this is essentially the same plan that was submitted at the last hearing. Basically, what was added was this proposed gate across the driveway, so that that with that gate there, it wouldn't be possible for them, the snow plows to come down and plow any further than this gate area here. We did also add a infiltration trench along the edge of the proposed driveway. There's a detail down here. It's basically 2x2 crushed stone with geotex fabric on the top. That way help keep sediment from migrating down into the soil and provide some treatment. And that's basically delineated by this thick blue line. So essentially, same house, same footprint, just basically added the gate and the infiltration trench.
Shit. I lost it.
I should point out, we did look at, I don't want to make it sound like we didn't put some effort into it. We did look at the flipping. We did look at maybe trying to angle the garage And none of those options really worked out or achieved much. You didn't gain a lot by doing it, and it caused some issues with the house itself.
Kind of sad. So that whole wall is basically 25 feet.
20, yeah, it's basically right at the 25-foot line.
That's gonna make it a complete headache to plow that driveway.
I'm not sure what you mean, to plow it in.
Or to remove just the snow removal, isn't it? I mean,
So I think the concern was that the town plow wouldn't push right through the driveway and push a big pile of snow right up against the creek. So the addition of a fence and a gate keeps the plow out, and then the homeowner blows the snow off their own driveway.
but if you blow the snow, I guess or I'll ask the question then. If you blow the snow, I mean, using a snow blower, you're just, isn't it just gonna be throwing all the snow into the 25-foot buffer zone? And is that, and I guess as the commission, I'll ask the commission, is that problematic?
Well, it doesn't have to be thrown into the buffer zone, but I can't answer the question for the commission.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but we're not going to be there policing how the snow blower is operated. So just by virtue of the fact of where the driveway is located would dictate that, right?
Well, I mean, the good news, I guess, is if there is a gate and there's a plow coming down that road, they won't be pushing gravel, stone, whatever debris is in that road across the driveway and into the area. And anything else that may be in it, snow or, residue from cars or whatever, oil.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen when the plow does come down that street and approaches the gate? It's going to have to
Right, back up.
sweep or swipe, to the old right-of-way side of the driveway to, clear its blades. Yeah, exactly. It'll have to, swing its blades that way and push everything there.
Which it does now.
John, is the green dashed line top of bank? Or is it
Yeah,
solid?
yeah, the solid green line is the top of bank, correct?
Okay, and then how wide is the stream, do you know?
I believe in this area in here, it was 6 to 8 feet.
Wide?
Yeah, the channel was 6 to 8 feet wide.
You
yes.
did a calculation to know that it's intermittent?
I took a look at stream stats. This is not delineated on stream stats as a stream. So, the calculation, it doesn't really, if it's not a defined stream, it doesn't come up with reliable answers. It was less than,
Well, how do you determine if it's perennial or intermittent?
well, it doesn't show on the USGS map at all.
And what is the drainage area?
Well, the drainage area would come from stream stats.
Well, that's not the only way you get it. When stream stat wasn't around, you had other ways to do it.
It was about 0.3 square miles.
Well, that stuff is information that you need to put in writing for us. I don't think there's any way that we can do anything that's gonna mitigate for where they're gonna plow the snow. I mean, that's such an arbitrary thing. Who knows when this road is gonna get paved, if ever. It's not paved now. It hasn't been paved for the last 50 years, so. I don't like the location of the driveway. I don't think it's beneficial to the protection of the interests that we're concerned about. I think it needs to be modified.
What if there was a wall along the edge of the driveway, that back edge?
Who asked that question?
That was me, Jimmy.
You know, I just think the best thing is not to put the snow there.
Right, you put a wall there, you won't be able to put the snow, that you won't be able to put a plow through there.
Well,
But you can blow the snow. You just have
You
a
can,
snow
but
blower.
it's gonna be fairly clean. It's gonna be, not picking up all the stuff from the prior plowing.
it's a driveway. It's gonna have oil and grease and stuff like that on it. Every driveway has something on it.
And the furthest it's gonna go is, let's see, what's the distance here? 20, 25
Well, it's
feet?
right on the 25 foot. So if you throw it 10 feet into the, you're,
Yeah, that's
and maybe
lawn.
that's not problematic. I just want to have that discussion as to whether that is, what we think about that. Because I mean, this is the sort of the implications of building right up to the 25 foot no disturb zone. This is sort of a fallout from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, there's existing, this is the existing edge of lawn that's out there now. So, that's probably about 10 feet. So I would say that would probably be the area that if it was to get plowed in that area, then it would be in that lawn area, and then it would be allowed to melt and eventually make its way to the stream.
Yeah, I mean, most snow blowers are gonna throw 15, 20 feet max.
Yeah, but, so I guess the fundamental question is, how do we feel about the 25 foot buffer zone being, inevitably a snow storage area? I mean, Jim, your point is about the what gets picked up on the driveway. That's your point. If it's just, Bob, your point, if it's just water, then maybe we don't care. And your point, Jim, is that it's not just water.
Well, my point is that I'd like to make sure that we're not I don't know. I'm not sure what we are, if we're a perennial stream or we're an intermittent stream. And I don't see anything that's telling us that. And I think you
Well,
need to know that before you can go too much further.
Again, if it doesn't show up on the USGS as a dark
I
blue
know that-
line, then
I know that,
it's
John.
presumed, listen, let me finish, then it's presumed to be intermittent.
Has
I
it ever,
actually spoke with,
has it ever dried up?
I spoke with the neighbor next door, and he told me, he's lived there for a long time. He stated that it does dry up in the summertime.
I've seen it myself for over a year now, and it's dry in the summer. In the spring, it's damp. In the fall, it's a little wetter. It's definitely intermittent by what I've seen.
Okay, well, we're gonna get that in writing from you, John.
But what are you looking for in writing?
I want your assessment of why that's intermittent versus perennial. I mean, that's a deciding, I mean, you need to know that just to go forward. And if your contention is that, then fine, but I want to see it in writing. It's part of the file.
Okay.
Excuse me, this is Paul DeFranza. I'm calling under the name of Gus Serra because I'm at somebody's house visiting right now. I am the next door neighbor that John just referenced.
Yeah,
I've lived there for 30 years and I can answer some questions about that if you'd like me to.
Sure, please do.
Okay, regarding the fact that it's an intermittent stream, John is correct. As I told him, and as I have seen almost every year for 30 years, depending on how much rainfall and snowfall we get, in August, that is a dry bed that goes from the culvert, which is on the right-hand side to the right of where it says Old Right of Way, almost all the way to the pond, but not quite. That stays mucky down near the pond. But I and John Stanton, the previous owner, and sometimes even the neighbors in the other Rear Walton Street area, will go down there, maybe I would say 4 or 5 times a year, and we actually dredged that creek to get rid of the branches that have fallen, the leaves that have fallen, and anything else that has gone into that, so that we maintain the stream when there is water going from the pond into the culvert and down to the Saugus River. The reason for that is so that the pond, so that the stream does not get backed up and then raise the water table on our lands, which then could end up, the hydrostatic pressure could get into our cellars, for instance. So I can vouch for the fact that at least for the 30 years I've been there, August is almost dry every single year. And it is maybe 3 to 4 inches deep most of the time the rest of the year.
Okay.
Thank you.
what else?
What's the thoughts of potentially putting a wall along that driveway of some type to prevent any plows from going straight in? I mean, still, yes, still could snow blow over to the lawn area, but it would prevent vehicles from pushing all the road, whatever debris or snow into that space.
Can I just go back to, Bob, if you don't mind, the whole configuration of the house and the fact that it's all, not just the driveway, but the whole house is butting up against the 25 feet, and how much worse it is that compared to what's there now when you had a smaller house when just a corner of it was on it. I mean, so
Just to confirm, none of that house moved away from that line. None of the house was reconfigured.
right, since all right, so they didn't do what we requested, and I think they started with that. So I'm sorry, I just want to point that out. So if they reconfigured the house, if they did something else, this would be less of a problem, but they didn't do that.
Correct.
So I think the suggestion was to flip the house
Yep. Or
and,
come up with some other way of doing it.
and so the homeowners, the couple that's going to live there have a young child who's 18 months old, and by the time hopefully this gets done and built, will be about 3 years old. And they're concerned that for a privacy point of view and security point of view, facing the house right facing the neighbor's house and not facing the street will be an issue. They won't be able to see the street from their front door. They won't be able to see their child walk up and down the street, come back and home from school. So they prefer not to have to flip the house for those reasons. And I'm sure you can agree. I mean, if you turn the house around, I guess it meets what your considerations are, but it doesn't make it as livable for the homeowners.
But the house wasn't pushed off of that line at all. Even without the switch of the garage, the edge of the house wasn't pushed off of the 25-foot line at all. Is that correct?
You're talking about the back edge of the house?
Yeah, the edge right along the 25 foot. Frontage.
No, it wasn't, because it abuts the border of the adjacent property on the front.
So
But
is my,
the house wasn't shrunk a little bit to compensate more for the side nearest the street.
right. So can I ask you a question? Is the thing that you decided that, that John, that you had decided wasn't workable, was that just taking that exact house and just making and then just doing a mirror image of it? I mean, in other words,
Yeah,
was
that's,
that
we looked at basically taking the same footprint, same house. and
okay? The exact
mirroring.
same. Okay. So you didn't consider that, because it seems to me that so we're starting with the standpoint that it's got to be that house. It can't be any other house or any other design that would be tailored to better accommodate the lot conditions. That's all I'm getting at, really, is that it's not that no house can, but and no house would have a front door that, because certainly you could design a house with a front door that faces the street and you can see, and certainly you can find, it's just not that house in a flip form.
Yeah, certainly that's the house that we've
Yeah, I understand.
gone
know, I
down,
don't wanna-
gone down the road with and
Not-
spent time with the architect with.
We're not talking about an unbuildable lot. We're talking about that the lot's unbuildable and it's impractical. It's just that particular house flipped has those problems.
What was the proposed square footage of the house?
Hold on. I don't have I don't know the square footage.
It's
But
approximately
the footprint is just over 2,400 square feet.
Yeah, and on the map, it shows on the plan that the existing impervious area is 1,770 square feet, and the proposed is 4,520 square feet. So there's an increase of 2,750 square feet of impervious surface.
Right, that includes the additional driveway.
Right.
It's basically taking the pavement that we're removing, the existing house that we're removing, and then adding the new driveway and the new house.
Right, Ken's question was actually what's the square footage of the house? How many floors, John, is this being proposed?
It's on 2-story. Like I said, it's about just over 2,400 square feet, the footprint of the house. I don't have, each of the floors and what the square footage is.
The interior space is about 2,500 square feet.
Thank you.
For both floors are 2,500 square feet?
Yeah. It's not that big of a house.
No, but unfortunately, it's within 100 feet of an intermittent stream.
I think what's deceptive probably is the garage, making it look maybe larger than it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's right.
That's right. I mean, this whole
Square
thing,
off the house without the
Perfect.
garage, then you kind of get a better feel of the house.
I mean, if you look at just the sheer amount of impervious surface that goes right up against the 25 feet,
Right,
You know.
that's right.
it's the longest section of the house and then a huge section of driveway. And it doesn't leave a lot of room for, which is sort of starting out with
Yeah, that'll be the, but what you're speaking of there is mostly roof runoff, which is going to be stored. There's no opportunity to slide this house closer to the property line, to the, not sure where the map, the directional compass is, but upward. Yeah, there's no,
Yeah, I mean, the way we're showing it here, it's in the table here. Our proposed side setback is 16 and
15.
required is 15, so.
Right.
You know, if you didn't put a driveway in, I mean, is that whole area where the driveway is that completely buildable property? Where it says the words proposed paved driveway, if the garage were right there, is that, what do you have to worry about the
Well,
sides?
you would have, yeah, I know, this would be, you'd have the front setback, which is 20 feet. So 20 feet from this line here, you'd have to stay off of.
Okay, but there would be, okay. All I'm looking kind of is at the
Yeah, we had talked about running the garage out that direction, so you drive straight into the garage at the last meeting.
Right.
And that would go a long way towards solving the concerns.
So let me ask the question, if we did extend the garage out and decrease the impervious area there and drive straight into the garage, would that meet with your approval?
I mean, that would address the concern of either plowing snow into that lawn area or even snow blowing snow into that lawn area. So it would potentially address those two concerns.
So are there any other concerns? Because we would seriously consider doing that to close this issue, even though it's going to be more expensive to build the house that way, but you know, to move forward, we would consider that. But we need to know if there's any other concerns.
I'm not following what you're talking about. Bob, what are you talking about doing?
So we talked about this last time, extending the garage to the right.
Yeah,
So that instead of a 90-degree turn into the garage and having all that paved area, you actually drive straight into the garage from the driveway or street.
so
Thereby, you'd have no plowing or pushing of snow into the lawn area or even snow blowing snow into that area adjacent to the stream.
John, you understand what he's saying, right? John Ogren? You
Yeah, I
understand?
mean, it's something that we kind of played around with. If you guys
Can you
want
do
to
me a
see.
favor? Can you just draw lines on it, you know, just to show on this plan what he's talking about so we can all understand it? Give the ability to draw.
That's right.
So offset the garage face as far as you could go and maintain your setback. Yeah.
Hold on, I don't know, this does not want to draw for me. Well, why don't I do this? Like I said, we did kind of play around with that a little bit, so
Just click on that straight line. That should give you the line drawing tool.
in the straight line.
Yeah, just draw a series of straight lines. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just for,
So almost like through the, I don't know, adjacent,
It wants to do text.
parallel to the 72 contour.
it's weird.
I mean, it's still, and that's not going to materially reduce the amount of impervious area though.
But it's gonna be clean roof.
Yeah, it addresses the snow issue, but it would slightly decrease the amount of impervious area.
Well,
Not
but it
you
would
would
be clean roof runoff.
Understand.
Which would go to the infiltration chambers.
Just to do, John, go to, if you go all the way to the right, see that yellow, looks like a comment. Ox, up a little bit, up, nope, up.
Oh, the
Yeah, right there.
comment one.
Yeah, that'll give you the tools to draw lines. Now you got it up top there to draw a line. I guess, nope. You, go to the, I think you can use that. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, I mean,
If you go to the one to the right of the paperclip, that'll give you the line draw tool. Go to the right. Well, yeah, right there. If you pull that down, that'll give you the, there you go.
get rid of that one. Why is it not?
I think because you're clicking on an existing, yeah, you start, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it'd be,
Yeah, you have to, there's another one that you gotta click, go, yeah. Nope, go back to the same one. Bring it down, go to,
draw a rectangle.
No, use polygon.
Yeah, you're right, that won't work.
Yeah, there's a polygon one that'll work. All right, you just can't start in your existing object. Delete all the other objects first. It's not perfect.
I need to get rid of this one. I get,
Yeah, just delete it.
all right.
Oh, yeah, you got to delete all the other items first.
I get, oh,
I can give it a shot. Don't need to do it.
hold on, I will get it.
Okay.
Just do a,
Don't start near any of the existing items. Start somewhere else.
Is this billable hours?
What's the file number?
Engineers don't charge by the billable hour, do they?
something like that.
We don't charge enough. That's the problem.
Yes, so that's what I'm talking about. Something like that where the driveway runs straight into the garage. Would resolve some of the issues, I think.
But where's the rest of the house?
What, Frank?
So so you're just sliding that whole house to the right?
No,
Well, that's one option, or you create the bay facing the street for the garage there. You end up with
Yeah, I
that
think,
potentially more living space, and the garage is 90 degrees off of that, like that.
John,
I did sketch it out if you want to take a look at it.
that's what I
Yes,
was.
Much easier.
that's it.
You had a sketch this whole time, John.
That's what I'm talking about.
I tried to tell you that, but
he
no one,
did try to tell you that, Frank.
You just wanted the drawing.
it's much more
reference.
dramatic if I do it this way. So yeah, this is basically the 21 feet off of the right of way line. So that's as far forward as we could go. We did expand this garage area to make some room for the driveway, and then have the stairs and everything out to the front door. But
So I like that plan better, even though it's more impervious area, more house. It's less pavement. You've created a permanent buffer between the stream and the driveway.
Yeah, there might be substantially less pavement depending on how it,
it's about 120 square feet less impervious.
And there's no way you can snow blow or plow the snow towards the stream.
But isn't the property line, how many more feet does the property line go to the right of that, though?
So you get 21 feet right now, and you need a 20-foot setback.
So if it's 21 feet, can't they still get, isn't that wide enough still to get snow down? Couldn't they just come straight down on the side on the 21 feet? I don't
You'd
know.
be driving across the lawn or
But why
whatever
would-
that is.
But why would they?
Yeah,
Is that lawn? That's my question.
Yeah, this would be lawn.
It is now.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, the pavement would stop here.
Okay, sorry, gotcha.
so, yeah, I think that's, good alternative. And you get a bigger house out of it.
No, he has to pay for a bigger house. That's the problem.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
yeah, but then you sell it for more too.
It's, no, that,
No.
so you should know, this property has been in my wife's family for a number of years. We purchased this from her uncle who passed away last May, who owned it since 1970. And we intend to build this house and sell it to our daughter and her husband and little baby to raise their family on. So this property will stay in our family for years and years and years. This is not something we're looking to resell.
Anybody have any other comments or concerns about this configuration?
And I apologize if you guys addressed this last time, but in the area in the no disturb zone on the bottom side of the building, what is going to be there? Is that just going to be grass?
Yeah, we're planning, there's kind of the edge of lawn that shows on here.
Yep.
We're just planning on maintaining that and keeping that same edge of lawn.
Okay.
So you'd still end up with at least, what, 10 feet from the edge of lawn to the bank,
Yeah, 10, 12 feet.
which would truly be undisturbed.
Yeah, we have no intentions of going any further than what's already lawn.
All right, so your house would be about 25 feet back at the closest point. Limit of work line would be the edge of lawn. You'd truly end up with whatever, 10, 12 feet of true undisturbed buffer between the edge of lawn and the bank.
Correct.
So does this configuration seem to satisfy everybody's concerns and perhaps we can move forward?
I'm okay with it. Anybody else? Yay or nay? Jimmy?
I'm undecided right now.
What are your remaining concerns, Jim? Are you still concerned about the intermittent stream, or are you concerned about the?
No, I think if they've seen it dried up, I mean, that really answers the question. I still want the information from John to be written down as part of the file, but yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That's what you're saying.
It's an improvement, but it's, what's disappointing is that it would have been nice if the existing driveway were utilized. It just would have, I mean, this whole driveway is just dramatically increasing the impervious area of the site.
Well,
I mean,
now
how-
actually, under this configuration, would be utilizing part of the existing driveway.
Yeah, but according to John, I don't know, I don't see how this can only result in 120 square feet less impervious area. It's hard for me to get my arms around that one. Because there's not going to be that turnaround. There's not going to be, I would have thought there would be just so much less pavement. Or more than 120 feet less. It's not going to be as much. It's not going to be as desirable as it would have been if the old driveway had been utilized and the house had been sort of configured so that, that not to extend not to extend the pavement all the way down to 25 feet.
If you look at this plan, most of the existing driveway is being utilized. And then you come through that existing driveway, you see where it says pavement?
No, I understand. My point was that.
And then you just take a
Right.
left into the
Yeah.
into the garage.
I'm sorry, I meant that if the existing driveway would have been the extent of the, that would have been the just repurposed as the current driveway and not having, and put the garage on the other side of the house so that it wouldn't have, so that none of the pavement would have to go back down, in front of the house. You give you a lot more lawn, that would have been I guess what I'm saying is that the amount of impervious area is so much bigger because of extending, bringing the driveway much closer to the stream.
Well, I understand.
But it's certainly better than what was proposed. I agree. It's better than what was proposed, and it absolutely is responsive to the concern about snow being dumped into the stream.
I should mention too, this house is slid forward about 5 feet.
Forward meaning to the right?
Yeah, to the right, towards the old right of way.
The old right away.
So basically, I was trying to get it as close to, the street
Yeah, setback.
as I could. And, like I said, obviously we had to extend this to make it wide enough for the driveway and garage. But I did also slide it forward about 5 feet.
Okay. That's interesting. So. Okay.
All right, I think it's a good compromise or solution to our concerns.
I think I agree.
My concerns. Jimmy, you still thinking?
I think it's an improvement, absolutely.
Can we hear from Elaine?
Well, it's definitely an improvement. The only thing I'm concerned about is the distance to the stream and the problem that the applicant may face when he goes to the ZBA. That's all. He still has to satisfy the ZBA with the 50-foot setback.
Right.
I just want to put that on everybody's radar screen before he
Right.
spends a lot of money with a lot of redesign.
Yeah, we brought that up last week. That is still out there.
Elaine, there's no grandfathering of that, correct?
This is
Not to my, I don't
isn't.
know the answer. That's a ZBA question, but it just seems to me that I think this goes, John, do you know when this goes before the ZBA?
2 weeks from yesterday. I don't know the date. I believe what was filed for with them was a finding, because there is, obviously the existing structure was within that 50 feet. And I think basically the finding is whether this, proposed house is more detrimental than what was already existing.
Okay, so the only point I want to raise is that it just seems to me that you ought to get input from the ZBA before you lock
I
in
agree.
plan.
I agree. Go to the ZBA first, and then depending on what they say, we then follow suit. Because if you're gonna have the homeowner do additional work before it's approved, I'm sorry, maybe I'm indifferent, but
Well, this is one of those, catch 22.
yeah,
Because I think the ZBA is, going to be looking to the commission
Oh,
for some input as far as, what effect this house might have on the resource. And I think they, potentially they could be basing their decision on what this commission decides. So someone has to take
Yeah.
the lead.
I know. It's,
May I ask what the basis of the 50-foot, the zoning 50-foot rule is?
The basis,
Yes.
I can tell you what the definition is. That no structure be constructed within 50 feet of the embankment of a stream as defined. I think it even refers back to the DEQE, which is before DEP. So it's basically the definition of a bank to a stream is 50 feet. Why it's in the zoning, I can't answer that.
Can I ask my commissioners why, are we, we're applying our 25-foot setback. We're applying our general rule, 25 foot, no disturb zone to a wetland. And here we have a zoning rule that was, it must have been designed based on some environmental concerns. Why else would there be a zoning rule on that?
Well, the interesting thing is that zoning rule has really never come up until the last couple of years.
Right,
And it was an arbitrary number, and it only recently has been,
enforced.
yeah.
Okay. I just was curious. I just, thank you. It's helpful. It's helpful to know because it just struck me as odd that they, here we are, that the zoning rules are more strict than the rules that we're operating under.
Yeah, this first came up, I think, on Cherry Lane, where it became an issue. We had a property that we had worked with and found out after that there was that rule, 50-foot rule, probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah, because the owner was denied a building permit.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think this, it wasn't before, I don't believe it was before the Wetlands Act, but when it was put in, it talks about, I'll read the actual zoning bylaw. It says, in no case shall any building or structure be permitted within 50 feet of the embankment of any open stream as defined by the Conservation Commission using the applicable Massachusetts Department of Environmental Quality Engineering standards. Again, that's what's now the DEP.
And I think you can argue that the riverfront, sections of the Wetlands Protection Act would supersede whatever that was based on.
I think that's probably the case. I think this was probably prior, you're probably correct, that it was prior to the Rivers Act.
Right, and this is a previously developed site.
Yeah, but wait a minute, the previously built site now, when you look at the degree, when you look at what this would look like relative to the existing structure, it is much more of it is in the more sensitive zone. If you're talking about the 50 feet, so it's not just if you're applying redevelopment standards, this is not an improvement by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, you are infiltrating almost all of the roof runoff. In the last plan, it was all the roof runoff. In this plan, it's whatever.
No, I'm not talking about the last plan to this plan. I'm talking about the current structure versus the proposed structure.
Yeah, the current structure has no infiltration.
Yeah, but the current structure is further away. It's much smaller and further away. It doesn't just run completely parallel. All I'm getting at is whether we have any concern about, is there anything we just talked about that should make us more concerned about, substantial amount of activity right at the 25-foot line. exactly.
So, I mean, the improvements, I guess, are there's no more septic tank and leach field. Most of the roof is being infiltrated. Those are the two biggest improvements if you're taking the redevelopment standards into account.
Peter, I think when you ask a question, I think you want to think of it in terms of, okay, it's bigger and everybody has their opinion on size, but what's the effect on the resource area?
Right, what's the impact?
Right.
Okay.
Is a larger size going to impact the resource area?
Well, that's why I phrased my question as a question and not as a
Yeah.
conclusion.
No, but that's a helpful way to think about it.
I'm happy we're having the discussion, so.
Yeah. And again, to mitigate the size or the additional size, that's going to be compensated by infiltrating the roof runoff, which is actually an improvement over the current condition. So, again, always try to frame it and with respect to the condition of the wetland and the improvement or erosion of the wetland. Which way is the wetland going to go with this new development?
Okay.
Sounds like your dog agrees. Is he snoring? He sounds like he's fast asleep.
Snore away, yep. He's actually in the other room snoring, so you could hear it.
Wow.
So it seems to me that these designs meet the criteria as outlined by the Conservation Commission and improve the area based on a collection of the stormwater and the infiltration, etc. Does it seem to you?
John, you want to answer that question on behalf of, what's your opinion on that?
My opinion as far as does it meet the intent of the Wetlands Act?
Yes. Or not just the intent, but the Wetlands Act.
Yes, absolutely. I think it actually goes beyond, in terms of that additional infiltration that we're proposing.
And to answer Peter's question, the additional impervious areas won't negatively impact the resource areas, correct?
Correct. And we're not, on this one, I'm not proposing, we would have the same number of infiltration units, even though there's a slightly less of an increase in the impervious area. There's no reason to reduce the size of it, so we would keep the same. So we'd actually get a little more benefit from that than the original proposal. But yeah, I mean, everything in terms of, there's no reason why all the areas that are paved, they're not discharging directly to any resource area. There's plenty of overland. If it's flowing overland towards the resource area, there's plenty of opportunity for treatment and infiltration.
I don't have any additional questions.
No, I don't either.
So what do we need to see? A new, is this the new plan or is this what's the next, do we need to do anything before we close the hearing? I guess I'm asking. Do we need to see something that's the formal, is this a formal new revision to the plan? Or,
Yes,
Yeah, this has been all regraded out. Like I said,
okay,
the drainage calculations have been adjusted for the new impervious area. So yeah, I mean, I can just email this plan stamped and signed. So I can just email this out.
There haven't been any ZBA hearings or anything yet, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the first hearing is in 2 weeks, basically.
And have you already applied for a building permit or got one?
No,
You wouldn't get one.
You don't have to apply for a building permit.
No.
That's exempt.
Oh, was the question, well, did you apply when you denied? Is that your question?
Well, kind of, I was thinking along those lines.
no, we've never applied because we felt that we need to get the approval of the Concom and then the ZBA. What's the point of applying and, developing the final construction plans and going to a builder until you get the approvals?
yeah, if we filed for a building permit, it would just get kicked. It would get kicked to ZBA and into
No,
conservation.
I didn't
Right.
realize that you could apply to the ZBA without getting a denial of a building permit.
To go to the ZBA.
Yeah,
Oh, you don't have, I mean, that's one route, is to go to the building inspector and get denied on a building permit and then go to the zoning board. Or you can file with the zoning board, get, whether it's a variance or, a finding, and then go and apply for your building permit.
okay. And I guess if we do approve this, if the ZBA doesn't like it and has the owner redesign it, they'll be back.
Most likely.
Right.
So,
Right.
so we have this plan is the plan now, and so should we close the public hearing?
So if we do that and the zoning board wants changes, you'd have to refile potentially or ask for
Right.
modification. There is not an advantage, John, is there, for us to close this? You don't have to refile.
No, I mean, I guess either way, I mean, you can always reopen the public hearing. You don't have to necessarily issue the order of conditions.
I think if the Conservation Commission leaves this open, then the zoning board's gonna bat it back at you and it's just gonna go back and forth. So my
Can I
sense
add
would-
something here?
Yes,
What
go
we
ahead.
did, what we did in a similar circumstance was, we didn't want to, if you close the public hearing, then that deprives the public of any opportunity to comment because they think it's over. So I think you may have a violation of the open meeting law if you do that, because people will think this is the end of it, and then you come back with a new plan. I know, so I think we have to be careful of that. So the last time we had something like this, what happened was we didn't close the public hearing pending some kind of review from the ZBA. But what we did do was we took the minutes of the meeting and we referenced the plan and we said, this is the plan that the Conservation Commission would approve and what the Conservation Commission is happy with right now. So it gives the ZBA an idea of what the Conservation Commission is thinking. So they get conservation input, but in case they don't want it, like the project that happened on Cherry Lane, we still have the option of having the applicant come back and say, the ZBA wouldn't go for this, so we now have to continue the public hearing with a plan the ZBA will approve. So if we have the plan and we have something from the minutes saying the Conservation Commission is happy with this plan, then you've got something to go to the ZBA with.
Yeah, I think that makes
That's
sense.
fine.
If we
Yeah.
close this and they make changes, they could be significant and you'd have to refile.
I don't know if you'd have, I mean, I have no problem with keeping it open, but I don't think you'd have to refile. You certainly would have to renotice because, as Elaine says, the public would think that it was over.
It would depend on the significance of the changes though, correct?
True.
So it could result in a refiling if we did close it. I mean, I think it's to your advantage to keep it open. And I think Elaine's comment is very appropriate and thoughtful for everybody involved.
So let me see if I understand then. The minutes would note that the Conservation Commission approves this design, this plan.
Yeah, I think we could say approves. I would say it meets our objectives or something a little bit off of approved. And I don't even know if we would need to take a straw poll to see if we have majority approval. I mean, what's
So I think we would want to do that for sure.
Well, we think that the changes that are made by the new plan adequately addressed, addressed all the current concerns of the commission.
Yeah, that's a lot better. Hey, Bob, I have to jump off for 5 minutes. I'll be back. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we can vote on that, process from our end, using that language, that Peter had just specified.
I think that it would be fair to say, as the commissioner, to say that it, it appears from the, that while it seems, I'm not sure if I have a vote on anything. I mean, we're not voting, we're not actually taking an action. That's the whole point.
Well, we don't know if we're all in agreement of even moving forward with that, with the plan right now.
And just to be clear, what we're saying is that this plan addresses our concerns. Is that what we're saying?
I think that's, I think what they want is maybe something saying that the commissioner indicated that, the chairman, asked whether the commissioners, whether this appeared to meet all of their, if they had further concerns, and then the commissioners all indicated that they had none. I don't know.
So I guess, I can poll individually and see if each of us agrees with that premise.
Pardon me, this is Paul DeFranza again from 34 Rear Walton Street. May I ask something, please?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. I don't know whether it's the purview of the Conservation Commission or the zoning board or what, but one of the major concern that my wife and I have had at 34 Rear is the high water table that is in this particular area. And the mitigation, these cisterns or whatever you want to call them that are in the backyard of 38 Rear will supposedly collect all the stormwater or most of the stormwater and then disperse it in all 4 directions away from those 16 different collection bins or whatever they are. Is that true?
John, you want to explain how the contact units will work with the roof runoff?
Before you do that though, John, the question that I'm getting at is, because of the high water table and the fact that sometimes our basements get some water, especially obviously during large storms or just snowstorms or something, meltage. These particular collection systems here are closer to our house than the original house. And they're going to be collecting more water, as I see it, than what would run off from the roof of the other house, the original house. So again, the concern that I have, and I'm not trying to put a kibosh on anything that's been said so far, believe me, but I just want to make sure that the added water, I suppose, that's going to be collected and dispersed is not going to increase the water table over where we are. And I think, John, we touched upon that a couple of months ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, we did discuss it, and, you know, first off, we're not adding any more water that doesn't already either go into the ground here or run off the surface. So in terms of the water that we're putting back into the ground, I don't see where that would have any effect on the groundwater. Again, majority of this water all goes into that same infiltration to the ground. Now it's going to it adds to the groundwater existing. So I don't see any net change, and I don't know why it would necessarily flow towards in the direction of your home, as you know, it has kind of relief in terms of the stream in the other direction, or the pond, you know, towards the rear. So I don't see where this infiltration is going to have any effect. And like we talked about too, is that all this activity, the infiltration, the house itself is all above that. We went out there, did the test holes. This is all above that water tables. So we're not displacing any of the existing water table.
But John, I think his concern is, you know, it's not going to be equally distributed amongst the whole property like it was. You're directing it all in one location. And I think his concern is, do you expect any, you know, localized mounding of groundwater in a certain area? Do you think that'll be significant?
Yeah, I don't envision any mounding for the loading that we're putting in that area. I would not expect any, maybe some very localized directly underneath the infiltration system. You might see some mounding, but again, we have separation between at least 2 feet between the estimated seasonal high groundwater and the bottom of these infiltration units. So I don't see where it's going to have any net effect on basically the surface of the groundwater table.
Okay. And again, the only reason that I brought this up is because seeing this now for the past 3 meetings, and I'm noticing that disposal area is closer to where my house is than where the original house is now. And so I was thinking that that's all that extra water is that much closer to my house. That was my concern.
No, yes, and I understand that, but you know, just if I take a look at an area, you know, yes, it has nothing to do with the existing house, but there's an existing, you know, lawn that's here, and water now lands in this lawn and goes into the soil, and you know, presumably adds to the groundwater. Now that we're proposing this house, that water doesn't go into the ground right in this area, but it will go into the ground behind the house. So if you want to look at it from that standpoint, you know, we're actually potentially pulling some water that adds to the groundwater in this area and pulling it further back here.
Okay.
Again, I don't think it's all pretty insignificant in the grand scope of things.
Okay, well, thank you. It's just a question that I had about that. Thanks.
All right, so I guess back to the,
Bob, I want to ask
Yeah.
you a question, Mr. Sullivan.
Yes,
Did you get water in your basement?
is there water in our basement? Is that the question?
Who was
Of the
neighbor
existing house.
on the existing house? No. in the neighbor's house, do you get water in your basement?
Oh, you're talking to Paul.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at a picture here and I don't have the right person.
Yeah, I'm on somebody else's computer actually right now under a different name. But when there's a lot of snow melt in the spring, or when there are heavy rains for a number of days, let's say, then we do get some hydrostatic pressure around the foundation of our building, and it seeps in around the perimeter. We did put what's called a French drain into about 2/3 of that basement, but there's an additional room toward the back that does not have a sump right now, nor does it have the French drain. And so we use surface pumps there if indeed we get some water seeping in there.
So Paul, you're saying this is very intermittent, and like everybody who is in any lowland area, if it rains for several days, you're going to get some water in your basement.
I am saying that.
And then you wouldn't expect that this design with the infiltration tanks is going to make that any worse.
Well, that was actually my question, Bob, is because those infiltration tanks or whatever they are closer to my existing foundation than what John Stanton's house is. That was my concern, is if they're collecting all this water and then letting it seep out to all four sides, let's say, is there going to be more water coming from a closer location towards my foundation than before? That was the question I posed to John.
I think that's a legitimate concern.
John, did you?
I don't believe that it is. Based on the soils that we out there in the test holes, it was fine sandy loam. There's some loose sand, there's gravel. So they're well draining soils. So my point is that typically in better draining soils, the water tends not to move horizontally. It's much more likely to travel vertically. And that's why I was saying we had that separation. So yes, it's going to flow through the bottom of this system, but it's going to flow vertically down that 2 feet, presumably at least, until it hits the groundwater, basically the water table. So I don't see it spreading out horizontally. It's basically going to move vertically.
Is there any difference in elevation in Mr. DeFrance's house and foundation versus this property? Is it higher up at all?
Well, I don't have a lot of right here. This is showing a 72
72.
contour, and this is a 72 on the existing house now. So it's pretty flat in between the two.
And then we get down to 71 and 70s, we get towards the bank.
That's as you go kind of head
Yeah.
this way,
So
and
it's
towards the
pretty
back
flat.
too. Yeah.
Pretty flat.
Yeah, it looks like surface wise, there's a 71 out in the old right away. So this is kind of a high point through here. And then it's all flowing this way.
When you did the test pit, what did you, what soils did you come up with? Was it sand?
Yeah,
And what elevation did you hit that at?
the soils log is on the plan.
I don't have it with me right now.
Probably showing it.
Yeah, so it's basically a fine sandy loam down the first 22 inches. And one hole was basically fill. And then from 22 to 28, fine sandy loam, that's the A layer. Then the B layer, 28 to 40 was another, again, basically a fine sandy loam. And then from 40 to 60 inches down was a loamy sand. And then 60 inches to 84 inches was gravel or a loose sand. And then the other hole was similar. And then down at the bottom, there was gravel or coarse sand.
Okay.
again, we saw, we found there's no refusal in either of the holes. And then one hole, there was static water down 60 inches and the other one was down 48 inches.
And where were those test pits, those holes dug again on the drawing? Can you show us?
Oh, you mean on the plan portion?
Yeah,
Yep.
so we had hole one and hole.
So we did one here and did one here. That's
Okay.
why we were, that's how we ended up finding the old septic tank, was we were actually digging in that area for these test holes. So this is deep observation hole 1, this is deep observation hole 2.
So the bottom of those chambers is about, what, 4 feet below the surface elevation? Is that right?
Yeah, I calculated here for each of the holes, the elevation that the seasonal high groundwater was, and it's 67.5 in one and 67.7 in the other hole.
Jimmy, your question is the bottom of the storm text?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
So 30.
I have here on this is the estimated, 67.7, 2 feet above that.
So wait a minute, test hole 1, you saw water at 48 inches or at 60 inches? Hole 2, sorry, hole 2.
Hole 2, we saw it at 48 inches down. But it was about half a foot lower than, the top, the existing ground was about half a foot lower than the test hole 1.
So John, it's your professional opinion and expertise actually then that says this is actually probably going to be a better disbursement than the existing one now?
I don't know. I don't know what you mean by better. I think it's very similar.
Okay,
like I said, the idea of putting these infiltration units in is so that water that normally went into the ground now hits that, the roof of the proposed house, doesn't just go and run off. Now it gets put back into the ground.
Yeah, directly into the ground instead of sheet flowing or flowing across.
Right.
Okay, and I wasn't looking necessarily for a guarantee, but I just want to be comforted, if you will, in the fact that it's not going to add to the hydrostatic pressure around my foundation. That's all.
No, it should not.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess we're back to the point of asking the commissioners, their thoughts on this plan. Does it meet what we're looking for? And are there any comments about that? Jimmy, you look like you're thinking.
Well, I had another question. I was looking at the section showing the chambers. Lists the chamber at 72, but the ground is up at 72. Right, I must be reading this wrong. Because that's only 2 feet of difference in elevation. Is that the right elevation for the bottom of the Caltech chambers? John, what did you come up with for an elevation?
Well,
you're going
if
70.2.
we're at 67.7 for the seasonal high groundwater, right?
I'm just
And
asking.
we got 2 feet of separation. And then,
I'm looking at your section, right? It shows from the surface to the bottom of the chambers to be 4 feet. And
yeah, it's 30 inches plus 18, correct?
right, and then I'm assuming that you're around, the surface is around elevation 72.
Jimmy, it's raised, so there's new contours where that area is raised up to 74.
Yeah, you come out,
Oh,
you come out to 73.7 and we're showing 74.2 as the
Okay, so the top,
ground.
so the ground's at 74.2, so now you're at,
It will be.
we're at about elevation 70.
That's where you're getting it 2 feet.
Okay,
They had to build it up to meet that.
yeah. Okay.
Joe, is this having a full basement walkout or what?
The full basement is not a walkout though.
Okay. Gonna have a sump in there? Plan on a sump?
I say most likely, why wouldn't you put in a sump?
Right.
So. So the the basement floor is that say 60, 68?
68 and a half.
So that's below the bottom of the chambers, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how do those chambers work? How does the water flow into those chambers? I mean, does it? How do they, how it just starts in one end and works its way through all the 16 chambers and? You know what I'm saying? How does that work? You
Or
dump-
we have like roof leaders coming into multiple points.
Yeah, even if they, I mean, I think ideally you would want to take one side of the, one side of the house and put it into one chamber and the other side you can put in the other end. It's going to flow. I mean, it's going to flow into the chambers. It's going to flow into the crushed stone. And then there's plenty of, pathways for it to fill into all the stone and then fill up the chambers.
Okay. But it'd probably be better to start with the chamber furthest away from the basement floor, right? I think.
I mean, yeah, typically on something like this, if it's 10 feet away from the basement, it's not an issue. Again, with depending on the soils.
Yeah.
What's the next step? Do we need a statement for the minutes?
I think so.
I don't-
I think we
I
had
don't
one.
think you, I don't think you need to attach the minutes. I mean, a comprehensive letter can just be put together with an overview of tonight. I think that's easier, more concise. And that's what you've done before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So just to be clear, I don't understand what that means. A letter to the effect of what?
A comment letter about what they talked about tonight
And
and their
where-
feelings on it
For the
And where-
ZBA.
And where does that go?
to the ZBA.
So essentially it's going into their court with your, not really opinion, but just your comments.
Or informal acceptance of the project, if you will.
Well, that sounds better.
It doesn't have to be an informal acceptance, though, if it's outlined what you discussed tonight, because they're going to take their read of it anyways.
Okay. So
And you
really
haven't
just
taken
stick
a
to the
vote yet.
fact. Yeah, I think we
Right,
want to
exactly.
mention. Right. I think we want to mention that the project was revised to meet concerns of the Concom, and, a revised plan was submitted that meets the objectives of the initial comments or something along those lines, but I'll leave it to the.
And in addition to meeting those concerns, there's no other outstanding issues that the Concom knows of at this point.
I'll
Yeah,
let Judy put those, decide on the word.
just in case something comes up.
All right, so we all okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy,
Yeah,
Teresa,
Yes.
Frank,
Yep.
Peter,
Yes.
Silvana,
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
I'm okay with that also. So letter will be drafted to the ZBA with our comments. Who'll draft that? Will Judy, Elaine, Rebecca, who'll put that together?
Rebecca said she would do it.
Okay. All right. Anything else for tonight on this topic?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. All
Yes, thank you.
right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, moving on.
So are we just going to note for the minutes that the hearings continued until after the ZBA decision?
that's
Or at
probably,
least it's just continued.
Just continued, okay.
Yeah, we left the hearing open in case the ZBA had comments or something along those lines. I don't know, just thinking out loud.
Okay, that's fine. I'll put that in my notes.
All right, are we, I guess, Elena, are you ready for us to move on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right, so I do see 3 old new business topics here. Let's see, going in reverse order. DEP 313-542-27A Evergreen request for certificate of compliance.
Yes.
I'm drawing a blank on Evergreen.
Pardon me?
I'm drawing a blank on Evergreen.
It's an old one. She built a house and the as-built was received within the last week. The as-built conforms to the proposed plan. I was out there this afternoon inspecting the property and everything looks fine out there. It's a good distance from Crystal Lake. So I would recommend that a certificate of compliance issue.
Okay, I remember this now. Yeah, behind Laurel and Hawthorne. Yes, I do remember this now. Okay,
did she do a patio in the back, wasn't it? Something, or a wall or something?
you remember the property, Jimmy?
Yeah,
Yeah, small house in the back,
yeah.
beautiful spot. Yeah, didn't we, I remember we had talked about, was it a fence or something back there.
Right. All
I
right.
don't know. Elaine, was there a fence or a patio in back?
There was a proposed patio in the rear.
And was
It's
that
a-
constructed?
No, it wasn't constructed.
Okay. All right. Motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 27A Evergreen.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Okay, Savannah,
Yes.
Peter,
yes.
Teresa,
You're on mute, Teresa.
Mhm.
Teresa, you're on mute.
Teresa.
I guess-
She said yes, I think.
okay.
Just nod, yes.
Yeah, Jimmy,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and Frank,
Yes.
and I vote yes to issue the certificate of compliance.
Mhm.
Okay, so she had a request. She has a closing on Monday.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. So my question is, can I get 4 people tomorrow for a signature and I can drop it off at her house?
I thought Rebecca told her she wouldn't have it in time for the closing.
Well, from what I understood, Rebecca didn't say anything about that to me today, but the applicant said that it had already been postponed once. So perhaps that was the closing that Rebecca was referring to. So are 4 people going to be around tomorrow?
So
Peter, I'll be around.
if you go to Jimmy, so you get Jimmy, Peter,
Me,
Savannah's right through
that's
the.
3. I'm right,
through the
there's
woods.
3 of us right in the circle.
Oh, Elaine, will you
Okay.
be at town hall tomorrow?
Yes.
I have I have to be downtown at, I'll be down, free around 9:30. If I drop by, is that something I could do? Drop by and sign?
Yeah, that'd be good.
And you could take it back with you and give it to
Jimmy?
Jimmy
Oh, that's right.
and
Wow.
And Savannah.
So
Still
who's the
need one
4th?
more.
I will not, I'm gonna be in Boston tomorrow.
I can be available.
I'll be in the Wakefield area too. If you get stuck, just text me and I can jump anywhere pretty much in Wakefield.
All right, there we go. We get 4 or 5.
Okay, so what I would prefer to do is is to run it around myself and then drop it off at her house.
Okay.
So let's see, Peter, I'll wait for you at 9:30. And then after
Or
that,
whatever. What time do you get in the morning? Do you get in around 9?
9.
Okay, great. So it'll be 9:30 or right around 9:30.
That'll be fine. And then I'll
Perfect.
take it around to everybody else and drop it off at her house.
Yeah, but I won't be around during the day tomorrow.
So then Frank,
Let Frank do it.
okay, Frank, I'll give you a call. Can you,
Sounds good.
can you just give me your telephone number now, Frank?
Yeah, it's 781-820-8269.
Yep, yep. So I would be looking for I would be looking for you around 10 o'clock in the morning.
I'll be available.
Okay, sounds good.
And Ken?
Yeah, I'm available whenever. Whenever's needed.
Same, I'm available whenever.
Wow.
Okay, so I will be at your homes around 10-ish, all of you.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
welcome.
Elaine, I'm sorry, I'm gonna miss seeing you.
Next time, Trace. Maybe we'll be meeting in person.
My days of working at home are numbered, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I've been numbered for a year now.
I know, Bob, I know.
All right, so that takes care of Evergreen, or will take care of Evergreen. We also have 26 Shady Ave discussion. Is there anything to discuss right now? Somebody was gonna go out there again. Jimmy, was it you? You and Rebecca were gonna go out to,
I didn't get out there, no.
you
Was
guys are
there-
gonna set something up.
Was there another site visit after the one Jim and I did? Because
No,
we
Elaine-
measured certain distances off from a fixed point.
Right, so what happened to that paper we wrote it on?
I scanned it and I sent a copy to Ken and I sent a copy to you, Jim.
I don't have,
The copy that I got, all I had was 2 measurements from the house to a fence post and a stump.
That's
okay,
it. That's it.
that was it, but had more than 2 measurements.
Well, no, there was measurements, but I'm saying I thought the intent was to draw what you thought was the line on
Right,
there.
well, I went.
So I didn't see the line.
No,
on there.
no, you're just gonna go between those 2 points. It was like 100 feet between them. I was going a straight line right through the hole from the fence to the stump.
So Jim, if I send it to you again and you drew a line across the backyard, would that be helpful to you, Ken? And to everybody else?
Yeah, I did put
Gotta be
those
the
2,
scale.
the stump. I put the stump and the fence post on that aerial where, pretty close, not exact considering it's an aerial, but I was able to kind of scale off and kind of put those features on the aerial. That's all I did because that's all I had. So I don't know if you want me to send that to you and you can
Uh,
hand draw where you thought the line was.
I
according to this.
need a 2 scale drawing because, not, otherwise none of it's gonna make any sense. So he had a plot plan that I think would have a scale to it. I could do it with that. If we can get he's got a plot plan, if we can get it out of him.
Yeah, he gave it to us.
So the plan that I received didn't have the house on it.
No, the plan I drew
So-
on the house because I took ties off the corners of the house.
That's the plan.
This is getting ridiculous.
That's the plan that I sent out.
All right, hold on. I can try to pull it up. Can I share my screen?
Yep, go ahead.
This is the plan that I received. And there was a house, there was a drawing here.
Yeah, okay.
Fence and stump. And
So from the 2
don't see a
corners of the house,
but where is the house on this plan that I can take these measurements off of?
I have no idea.
Wait, can you scroll up a little bit? No, I'm sorry. Scroll the other way. Okay, stop. I think, can you expand it a little bit? I think that, okay, Jim,
Yeah, that's the.
isn't that the house up there at the top? Yes, it
Right.
says
Yeah,
house on it.
Yeah, but he needs it on the plot plan up
Right.
above.
So I have these measurements, but I need to plot them off of the house because that was your fixed point to measure from, but the house
All right,
isn't on
so-
here.
So I could get, all right, I could probably get a decent plot plan off Mass GIS that has the lot lines plus the location of the house. And then you could take these measurements and put them on the Mass GIS plan.
Sure,
Okay, so let me
but with the
that
caveat
tomorrow.
that,
I'll
I'm
do that.
not a
Huh?
surveyor. It's just with the caveat that, this isn't formal CAD survey work. It's going to be kind of ballpark.
Okay.
we don't expect you to stamp the plan, Ken.
Thank you.
I'll get that to you tomorrow, Ken.
We'll put Jimmy's name on the bottom.
Oh,
Um, I don't know.
All right, so what do you want to do?
I'm going to send the GIS plan to Ken tomorrow.
Okay,
He's going to take the measurements from the plan that he already has and put them on the GIS plan that'll show the house, plus the yard and the resource area. And then he's going to plot on the locations of where I guess it's the fence and the plantings would go.
okay.
and then the idea would then to get the owner back in and show him that plan?
Jim?
Is that the intent?
The intent was to
Establish a line?
establish a line that we were gonna hold them to.
Okay,
But, and hopefully it was gonna match up with somewhere in these other lines that you have.
So just to clarify, where would that wetland line be drawn according to those 2 points that you called out?
Yeah, the 2 point, I took a point along this fence. Oh, you can't see me. I took a point along the fence. And then I took a point at that stump, and then I just tied them back to the house using the 2 corners of the house. So there's 2 measurements to locate this 1 point.
all right, so whereabouts is the stump you're referencing?
So the
Over there,
stump is over
okay.
here.
That's not, you know what? It looks like you've got them in the, did you already do this?
I did this on an aerial.
Because the 98 was the number for there, and I think 150.
Yeah, these are from your measurements. These are just ballpark to put it on the aerial to see what I was
And
looking
then
at.
it was 118 between here.
Was
Uh,
160.
You've got 116. So that would have been, a straight line through there would have been where I was gonna put the
Like,
line there, approximately.
Okay,
like that?
I ran it straight, yeah, point to point.
Oh, between them? Oh, I got
Yeah,
you.
between the 2 points.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, but up a little higher.
Well, those are the 2 points. Oh, so,
Oh, those are 2 points, okay, and that's it,
so stump to fence post.
right?
Yeah, that's it.
And that's off the house, but that's my estimate.
okay.
Okay, so now
That
what?
might be close enough there, I guess. I don't know how.
If you can get something a little nicer. That, again, this is, pulling off the corners of the house and there's shadows and there's,
Yeah,
you can't
You're
zoom
within a couple
in.
feet.
It's probably within 5 feet.
Yeah.
You can tell how nervous I am doing.
All right, so now what, Jimmy?
nothing. I haven't done my job.
And is the homeowner aware of this?
Yeah, he is aware of that line, but
Okay,
You should ask him to come in again.
He was supposed to come to this meeting.
all right,
He asked to have it bumped to tonight.
all right,
Yeah, I thought last one, yeah, last meeting.
and what was the purpose of him coming back to this meeting? To show him this line?
Yes,
basically, yeah.
and discuss what he's going to plant.
Yeah, he was okay with that line. At least when we left, he was.
Right, I thought it was about formalizing a planting plan, and Rebecca said she would put one together. Which I think
Who
is a
was
good
there
idea.
with you, Jimmy?
What?
Who went out with you?
Elaine.
Right.
I know Rebecca, we talked about her going out next time with you.
That
Yeah, I
didn't,
know, but she didn't have the time to do it.
Okay,
But why don't you just have her develop the planting plan and give it to him, and then that's the end of it. This has been a year and a half.
yeah. Yeah, no, agreed.
I agree. There has to be a beginning and an end to everything.
Right, and if the planting plan is done for him, it's not a difficult plan. You know, if he wants some input on the plantings, that's one thing, but
Are we
then
gonna,
it's,
are we gonna give him a deadline?
yeah, well, as soon as Rebecca has the planting plan, yeah, then you can just say, as of, you know, by start in the fall. It was gonna be a graduated plan anyways, but he could at least start and get some things planted.
So will you want Rebecca about that, Judy, or Elaine?
I
or-
talked to her about it and she was all about it
When did you talk to her about it?
about 2 weeks ago.
Again, all I'm saying is that we may have to remind her, that's all.
Yeah, no, she was just waiting for this to be.
Oh, wait for the plan, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay. Well, then someone has to email the plan to Rebecca then, how's that?
Well, I'm still gonna wait to get something from Elaine.
Right, well, so when I'm sorry, yes, Elaine, then Ken, then Rebecca.
Okay, so what I'll do is when I send it out to Ken, I will mention this conversation in the email and I'll CC Rebecca.
Perfect.
So how is this gonna get kind of memorialized for, you know, whatever other action we take? Is this,
Do we have a file, an informal file on this?
There's an
We
enforcement
do.
order.
Right,
Oh, the enforcement.
Yeah,
yes.
we could update the enforcement order.
Is that enforcement order recorded?
No,
Annoying.
correct.
All right, so we know what needs to happen with this, right?
Yes.
Any further discussion about this topic?
No.
Okay. There is one last item on the agenda, unless,
There are two more things.
unless Judy
have-
or Elaine
You
have
you
something
have
to add.
You have to do the order of conditions for 3 Andrews. You closed at the last meeting, but didn't issue the order.
Oh, gee, 'cause
It's not on the agenda.
Oh,
all right.
um, Trying to think of what we even talked about at 3 Andrews.
The planting line so that they don't mow further back. Remember
Oh,
DEP
right,
issued
right,
comments?
Right. That's the only condition we talked about,
Correct.
wasn't it?
Correct. And it was to be done immediately.
Right.
It can be
before
done during
anything-
construction and the homeowner agreed to it.
Right, before any construction occurs.
Right, or during construction,
Yeah,
as long as it happens right away.
right. So it's a standard order of conditions with
Yep.
condition added to establish
But
the,
there was, weren't they gonna submit a planting plan? Libby was gonna have something, wasn't
were they going to?
Geez, I
that?
don't,
In the
I-
minutes, said they were going to submit a planting plan?
I don't remember.
I have the minutes in front of me.
I have here. Yeah, I have Libby is supposed to prepare a landscaping plan. And that was at our meeting on
The 27th.
May, actually, I have it here, May 13th.
Yeah,
Rebecca was
Elaine
at
wasn't
the,
at the last meeting.
I wasn't at the last one on the 27th, but my notes have it in when I was here on the 13th. I had that they were to restore the wetlands with, and they were supposed to put in a split rail fence. I don't know if we changed that at the last meeting. Planting. Libby was supposed to prepare a landscaping plan, and then there was something about a dewatering plan.
Does Libby know that?
Well,
John was at the hearing.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if he forgot to tell her, because that doesn't sound.
I,
So it said, I'm looking at the minutes of our
Got
last meeting. Our last meeting, the minutes say, notice of intent, blah, blah, blah. John Ogan of Hayes and the president, a revised plan was submitted for review for the evening. Erosion controls have been upgraded, have been moved to up gradient. Dewatering and planting plans were also submitted. Bushes will be planted. So,
and this was the 27th, Teresa?
yes,
right,
Okay.
and Peter wanted to hear Elaine's comments before they agreed on the plan.
Okay. All right, so the planting plan is in the file, which is back in the office, but it's in the file, which is good. And so I'll take a
restoration-
look at it. Libby does a good landscaping plan. I'm sure there won't be a problem with it. I'll just check it over. But it sounds like it's ready to go with just a reference to the planting plan.
And it
the
is
revi-
supposed to be done
plan-
before construction.
And prior to
what she agreed
construction,
to.
I have that as an order. Yep.
right. And Peter's concern was that the planting plan would prevent future mowing, the plantings.
I have planting plan. There should be a planting line in the rear of the property to serve as a limit of work line. Are you
Yeah.
okay with language? And
Yeah.
the landscaping is to be installed prior to the commencement of work or during the process of work.
But she agreed to do it before.
Right. She
All
did.
right, so landscaping is to be installed prior to the commencement of work?
Yes.
That was the agreement by the homeowner.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'm looking at the final drawing. The bushes were added along the wetlands line. Erosion control has been moved up gradient from the wetlands, and the detail of the dewatering station was added.
that's everything.
Okay,
Yeah, and here's the plan I'm looking at. And it shows proposed shrubs, mixture of high bush, blueberry, and silky dogwood.
Yeah.
Right across the back.
That's
So
fine.
Once Elaine, let's do this. Elaine will look at the plan. Assuming the plan is okay, do we have any other special conditions for the order of conditions? So we can get that going.
okay.
That was it.
Okay, I can tell you now, silky dogwood and high bush blueberry are fine. So I'll just take a look at the location.
Okay,
So
Yeah, there's also summer sweet.
Also
Mhm.
good.
Yep, on the far right side of the property.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's a combination of those three. But
All right,
yeah,
all good
we have a
plans.
planting plan.
Okay,
and
those
so,
are all good plans.
so you have enough for you to draft the order of conditions, Elaine?
Yes, yes. And
Oh,
when
so
I
It's a
come
standard
around-
order, right? With one condition, one special?
yeah. why
Two.
not?
Two, just that the planting plan in the rear of the property is to serve as a limit of work line, and the landscaping shall be installed prior to the commencement of work. So
Okay,
that's,
perfect.
okay.
All right,
So I'll
so,
send that around. I'll have a signature page on that, along with the signature page for the certificate of compliance.
all right, so first we need a motion to issue that order of conditions.
So moved.
And we need a second.
Second.
Okay, Frank,
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't involved in any of the hearings for that.
okay. Ken,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yeah,
Teresa,
Yes.
Savannah,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and I also vote to approve.
So,
Those-
Elaine, Frank is not gonna sign that because he wasn't there, so you're missing one person for that.
All right, that's got a little more flexibility. So I can probably, I'll get 3 out of 4 on that, and I'll work on the 4th one next week.
All righty.
3 out of 4 for which one? For this one?
Yes,
So
maybe what
Who-
I
who
can
are
do,
the
Jim,
3?
you know what I can do, Jim? I can leave
leave me
this,
as the 4th. And
I'll leave it to you. It's just the signature page, but I can leave it for you, and I'll put it in in an addressed envelope with a stamp on it. You can just mail it back.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so we have 2 order of conditions. Right, we got Evergreen, we've got Andrews.
So what's the last item on your list, Bob?
Last item is review standard conditions.
Ah, yes.
I don't know that we want to go review them now. How
Right.
about everybody's homework is to read them over
Yeah, or else we'll be here until midnight.
and have any
Well,
comments?
maybe not. It's pretty easy to review, but that's
It
okay.
is? Okay.
I'm already past my bedtime.
I've looked at it.
I've been up since 4:45, so I.
Oh,
Yeah,
Me too.
So the only things that you really need to look at are the ones in red.
right.
The ones that the ones that should survive in perpetuity, I think there's a good suggestion. So we can talk about them more later.
Okay. All right.
If you don't want to do it now.
So I'll put that on the next agenda.
Yeah, right now, what do we have for the next besides, well, actually, what do we have?
26 Millbrook Lane.
No, we
no, we already did that.
closed
I thought
that.
we did
Oh,
that.
that's the thing. Do we have an order of conditions to sign for that? Do we want to talk about that?
No,
I
You
have
mentioned-
2 orders lit. I have 2 potential orders.
And this would be the third.
Okay, so this one goes out, and what I have is all debris is to be removed from the river
Oh, right, that's right.
and the
Yep.
bank,
Yeah.
and
Pile of debris and the,
no storage of clippings or brush within 10 feet of the bank.
Well, that's in the standard order, but that's.
Oh,
okay.
that's right. That's
right, but we
right.
want them to remove the pile that's back there.
Move the clippings that are literally right next to that exist.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that's right. I had it, but then you told me it was already in there. And then the pool is to make use of a cartridge type filter.
Correct.
Yeah, we should probably, we have a condition already that talks about discharging excess water and it has to be neutralized. Maybe we add to that and put if it's a pool, we put a cartridge filter, and neutralize is just pH. I think we may want to say, also no
It's-
chlorine.
Well, yeah, the idea behind the neutralize is both chlorine and pH,
Okay.
but we could spell it out. You don't want a superchlorinated discharge.
A strict definition of neutral.
Hey, if someone wanted to argue, they could say, well,
It's only pH, it's not chlorine.
right.
So I would say any discharge of water to the resource near the resource area shall not contain chlorine.
Well, no, you could revise standard condition number 61 to say the pool water shall be, again, I would just change that in standard condition to say that it shall be,
Chlorine free.
chlorine free and neutralized. Would you?
So wait a minute. So if it's chlorine free, doesn't that mean it is neutralized?
No.
Well, you're,
Neutralized is just the pH.
pH level, yeah.
But all water has a pH level.
Well, there's
No matter where it is, it always has a pH level.
right. It's on a
So-
scale of whatever, 1 to 14, but the intent before was talking pH and chlorine, but really chlorine is the big one. You're not gonna have a pool that's super acidic or super alkaline.
It's true.
Right.
You won't.
No, but you are gonna have a pool that's super chlorinated.
Right, it's a good point, Bob.
People shock it or they drain it or it fails or whatever.
Yeah.
So the intent was always chlorination levels being minimal and not a pH issue.
So,
Nobody's swimming in acidic water or alkaline water.
Well, that might be why
Okay.
you're draining it.
All right, I got that. So that'll come around tomorrow as well.
Okay.
I like the concept of that.
Okay. And let's see.
So you got 3 order of conditions.
What about, well, let me look at this. What about 28 Bellevue Avenue?
Okay.
We closed that.
Yeah, we did close that.
Did we talk about conditions? Oh, we already talked about that one.
I mentioned it briefly. It didn't sound like we had any special conditions.
Right.
Well, we did, yeah, they're gonna submit the plan showing split rail fence, additional 2 trees,
Right.
high bush blueberry,
In between.
and we're even gonna throw those markers out there.
All right, that's right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have all those
Okay,
notes.
so we're waiting for the plan to be submitted.
But-
Actually, didn't we talk about, that would be just part of it? Or did we say we're gonna issue order or wait for the plan? I don't remember now.
I don't see it. It just says hearing closed. They will provide revised plan with previously noted landscaping. That's referring back to my notes about the blueberries. But you know what? If they get it, we still have 21 days, 3
Right.
weeks to put this out.
Right.
So we should get the revised plan and
Then it would issue an
vote
order. of
on it
conditions.
next week. We're still out in time. We're still within the.
But why not slap on another signature page to what you circulated tomorrow?
Well, if you want me to do that? And then just hold it until the
Exactly.
plan comes in?
Doing the work.
Okay, so this one gets another. I'll hold off on sending the order, but I'll get the signature
Right.
page.
And yet another one I'm not signing. I'm so upset. That's okay.
Okay.
I just want to remind people, town hall is now open regular hours. Just a reminder.
But not the old regular hours till 7 o'clock on Thursdays.
Nope, nope, because everything's automated now. But it's
Right,
open till
so
4:30.
regular hours means it closes at what time?
4:30.
That's
Yeah,
no
doesn't-
good.
Doesn't help me.
That's no good.
No good for me.
Unless it's open on Saturday morning. Which it's not.
I mean, there may be rare occasions I could get there right before closing.
Oh, Bob, you know I delivered to your house.
That's true. I do have my my personal valet.
You've always been very good about that, Judy.
She is the best.
Is there anything else? So we think the next meeting is still going to be Zoom, even though the emergency order will have expired. Is that right, Bob?
Yes, I think it's going to continue to November, end of
Right.
November.
But
That's what
we
they're looking
don't
at.
know for sure yet
It
because
hasn't been passed yet. Right.
exactly.
In November.
That's what they're looking at. To give towns, because so many towns want to keep a simulcast
But
of the
literally,
meeting.
there's 5 days to pass that legislation.
Right. I think there's a lot of confidence that's going to pass.
All righty. That's good. I'm all for Zoom.
All right, so I've got 3 orders of conditions and 1 certificate of compliance I'll be bringing around tomorrow.
Hey,
Okay, all right.
All right. Any other old business, new business?
No,
what's going on with Montrose? That house there in the back?
Good
I still see,
question.
I see activity.
Who sees activity? Is that, am I
Me.
talking to Judy? Who am
No,
I talking to?
Savannah.
Savannah, I
Yeah.
have not seen activity. I stopped by
I
the.
see stuff moving around. They do it subtly.
All right, I keep trying
Jimmy,
to,
weren't you concerned about the back, Jimmy? Jimmy, Jim,
what?
He was not listening.
I'm trying to,
didn't you say that you saw stuff in the back?
yes. Oh, you're
Yeah.
talking about the house on Montrose Ave?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen stuff in the back. I haven't seen anything moving, but the same old stuff is still there.
Yeah, all right, forget it. I won't bring it up again.
So I stopped by the building department today to see what's going on there, to see if they had issued him an occupancy permit, but nobody was there for me to talk to. So I'm trying to tie this to the occupancy permit to the building because it's hard to reach this guy. And so I'll go back tomorrow and their file is flagged. I must say I'm somewhat surprised that he hasn't tried to move in already. And see.
He's
what I-
trying to do a subdivision, that's why.
Yeah,
That's what he said the holdup was.
well, there's two things going on. He wanted to have his brother move into the house, and then he wanted to subdivide the land and sell another building in the back. So I'm trying to find out what's going on back there, so I can get a little more leverage.
Yeah, but I mean, in the meantime, he has an enforcement order. Why aren't we
Right.
doing something?
I
with the
know,
enforcement
the
order?
insurance, I thought, because of the trees that he cut down.
Okay, so I could tell him to come in. Why don't I just tell him to come in and start the process then?
Yeah, I think it's.
Schedule him for our next meeting. Okay, we'll do.
Well, start the process of what? He's an enforcement order now. Right?
He does.
Start the process of discussing the enforcement order.
Or to file a notice.
Well, get his.
He was already told to file a notice of intent.
Okay,
So maybe you could issue a second enforcement order. That's was Tom Mullen's recommendation. Keep a paper trail when people ignore these enforcement orders. And then he can take action once there's still
That's a
no.
good idea, Judy.
Right, he mentioned that a while ago. If there's no paper trail, he can't do anything.
But has anything happened since the enforcement order was issued?
But he hasn't addressed the reason that the enforcement order was issued.
It wasn't just a cease and desist?
Well, he was for all the vegetation he had taken down. And all the dirt he had moved.
I don't remember what we instructed him to do.
To
He
file
had
a notice of
approved- he
intent.
had approved- He had approved.
file a
the
notice of
insurance.
intent. The problem was, we thought that the request for the subdivision was right around the corner, and it didn't turn out to be that way. And then he has a number down. You can't reach him at the numbers he has listed in the building department. And I thought, okay, so I had them flag his file down in building for when he wanted an occupancy permit, because it was also my impression that the brother was going to move back into the house right around the corner. Neither of those things has come to pass. So
You
that's
weren't-
why I've been going down to the building department to see what I can find out about getting back to him again.
But there's an email address. He works for the state.
There's an email address.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay. That I don't, for some reason, I don't remember. So I can send it via email. Thank you.
So what are you sending?
Another enforcement order.
Okay.
And maybe you could copy it to the building department. So that they know
Okay.
there's an active
Yeah,
enforcement order.
yeah,
out there.
that's a good idea. I have a note in the file, enforcement order would be better. Good idea. I will do that, Judy.
Okay.
Hmm.
Any more old or new business? Okay, going once, twice, three times? Nope. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
okay. Frank? Ken?
Yes.
Jimmy?
Yes.
Savannah?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And I vote to adjourn. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.
And
Good night.
we'll talk in a
Good
couple
night.
weeks.
Elaine, see you tomorrow morning.